Hey, happy Tuesday. We are back with another episode of Go FUD Yourself. Today, I think, we're covering Bitcoin and ETH news, which is pretty exciting. But specifically, what topics are we going to cover for everybody today?
Okay, so we have kind of a heavy bank day where we're seeing a lot of big name investors be really interested in what's going on with Bitcoin and ETH because of the happening, because of Dencun. And then we have some weird media news. I always like the funky PR stories. This one today is about Elon Musk and Warren Buffett finally agreeing on something. And they would like to tell you about what the true currency is. So we'll see if there's any token alpha from them. And then after that, we're going to talk about AI and crypto AI and crypto AI trading bots and how that might impact some of our regulation, which again comes hand in hand with what the heck is going on with Bitcoin and ETH and why do we care about crypto AI trading bots on Bitcoin?
Isn't AI the only thing that matters right now in the world of investments?
Yes.
Like I get so many
Elon Musk and Warren Buffett actually just agree that AI is the new currency. So
AI is the new currency, intelligence. All right, cool. Well, spoiler alert, Kiara just ruined the whole episode.
That's not it.
I know. I'm kidding. All right, let's go. Let's get it on the way. I always kind of feel like we should just groove.
I think we do. They just can't see us. Thank goodness.
I know. Maybe we got to make it so we stay on the screen and they can see our dance moves. I mean, at least mine. I don't know if anyone wants to see yours, but mine are pretty good.
No one wants to see mine.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You want to talk about what is taking off?
Yeah. I mean, unless you've been living under a rock, this probably is seemingly obvious, but crypto assets surged to record highs. Who knew? A resurgence in investor confidence. Global cryptocurrency market has achieved a remarkable milestone, hitting its highest assets under management since December 21. According to Kitco News, the sector witnessed an influx of 5.7 billion in year-to-date inflows, representing 55% of the peak inflows of 21. This resurgence signals a growing investor confidence within the US, Brazil, and Switzerland, who are leading in contributions. The report highlights a significant rebound in the crypto market, showcasing a renewed interest and optimism among investors worldwide.
Whew.
Are you feeling more confident?
Yeah, whenever banks like something, I like it too. Some of the stuff I thought was interesting about this actually was just the country by country and the year to date. I mean, 5.7 billion sounds like a lot, but if we think about it being year to date, that it's only February. So
yeah, it's a lot of cash.
55%. We're already over half of the total investment in 2021 in terms of crypto, which is pretty cool. And then the countries are the US, Brazil, and Switzerland. I was surprised to see Switzerland on that list. So we're going to have to jump into that on crypto arms race this week, maybe. The US is not a surprise unless you're following regulation.
Time flies when you're having fun, Agent J. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining again. He's just commenting and I'm responding. Yeah, I mean, there's a few things I think that are usually pretty good signals. They don't tell you any timelines or anything like that, but a good leading indicator is often inflows and outflows. So when you see a lot of assets leaving a space, whatever that is, then outflows are obviously problematic. Inflows are obviously quite positive. So I mean, I suppose that kind of goes without saying. You know, we're going to see some inflows here. It's a good way for us to predict, or at least to start to get a sense of sentiment. Mm-hmm. Then there's a few other indicators that we've talked a lot about: Coinbase profits, new wallets established on MetaMask, daily active users, et cetera, et cetera. I think in general, you know, those are a little bit lagging as indicators. You see those things after we already know. Obviously Coinbase made money because everybody's going gangbusters. I've drawn on this one for a long time, but I think, you know, this is pretty obvious to me. Number go up, people go happy, and not put more money in. But I think we're seeing, contrary to what I expected, actually, I'm wrong often. So that's why it's not financial advice. anything I ever say. But I'm actually surprised. I think there's more FOMO right now going into Bitcoin and ETH than I thought there was going to be. I mean, Bitcoin hitting 57 yesterday was mental. And ETH is, they're continuing to rise. And I think, to me, that signals like the market cap growth is substantial of those assets over the last couple of months. So yeah, I mean, I think it's probably pretty obvious that we're doing okay, but I don't know.
I mean, you're right. Number go up, people go happy. But JP Morgan wants to know why number go up, not just when number go up. So JP Morgan has done an analysis about what the crypto catalysts are for these prices. They've determined that the three main catalysts for crypto prices right now are the Bitcoin halving event, ETH Dencun upgrade, and the potential SEC approval of spot ETH ETFs. Although retail investor interest is at a peak, as you can see by activity in small wallets and significant purchases on platforms like Coinbase, the bank suggests that the effects of the Bitcoin halving and ETH upgrade are mostly reflected in the current prices. The SEC's decision on ETH ETFs remains uncertain, and not everyone agrees that it's actually going to get passed.
So JP Morgan needs to pay me to do this stuff, or pretty much anybody.
That's exactly what I thought.
So,
I was like,
I almost find this kind of entertaining. So three of the biggest events possible in probably my time in crypto, no shit that they're probably the most influential in terms of why crypto is pumping. No kidding. Anybody could
be surprised, JD.
And then of course, we think it's been priced in mostly. Can you give a more non-committal answer? Like, if it still goes up, then they can say, well, we said mostly. And if it doesn't go up, then they can say, well, we said.
This is like the weatherman of.
Yeah, it's probably going to be warm, maybe cold today. I don't know. One of the two. Or somewhere.
Take a look at these candlesticks. You'll see that some go up, some go down.
So I'm like surprisingly shocked by this. Like, disappointed that this is the authority that we're listening to. I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of these articles are good, in particular for people that aren't paying attention to the space. So
yeah, or the crypto curious who say, oh, what do you mean about ETH's upgrade?
Like, I know I'm shitting on it pretty directly here, but for people that aren't spending the inexcusable amount of time that we spend looking at things, I think maybe, people that are curious, people that maybe haven't looked into ETH or Bitcoin and are like, why is this all over the news? What's going on? So I do understand why they publish this stuff. I just think from JP Morgan, like it's a pretty legit brand that's being circulated and syndicated throughout crypto, which I think is.
I feel like this is a PR thing, kind of like the ETH coming of age story. This was just, they had to get something out. There was a deadline, and so they went with it.
What I don't hate about it is that at least we're having real conversations about what's going on.
True.
Like, I mean, at least we can call a spade a spade. At least we can say this is what's happening. It might be simple. Yeah, it might be obvious to a few people, but at least it's not shilly or lies. It just
the thing that I didn't love from this particular storyline and from this particular research is the uncertainty about ETH ETFs. They're just like, maybe, hard to say. I'd like to see some actual indicators either way.
I'm not as confident that the ETH ETF is going to be approved first kick. I think it's going to get punted. I think we're going to see, if at all this year, it'll be like the very last freaking day, kind of like the ARK Invest was, either decline or approve today. That's it. I think that's where it's going to go. I don't know. Election year. I don't think we're going to get a ton of regulatory clarity. So yeah, I think they're going to.
Well, if you don't like JP Morgan stating the obvious, maybe let's get some of this alpha from Elon.
So I think you were sandbagging and made it so I have to introduce this one and you can talk about it.
No, I wanted to intro it. Here, do it.
We all know that I'm a fanboy of Musk. So I even have a giant picture on the wall of Musk. So
okay, let's go.
Okay. Anyways, the true currency, Elon Musk surprisingly sides with Bitcoin critic Warren Buffett amid crypto price swings. they've been on polar opposite ends of the spectrum for as long as I can remember. Tesla CEO Elon Musk and Berkshire Hathaway CEO Warren Buffett, despite their differing views on various subjects, including cryptocurrencies, have found common ground on the concept of time as the true currency. In a discourse that intertwines financial wealth with philosophical musings on the value of time over money, both magnates underscore the finite nature of time as the ultimate commodity. This dialogue emerges amidst discussions on the Bitcoin halving event, suggesting a blend of economic foresight with existential reflections on value and time. Do you think time is the real currency?
I don't even have any commentary for this. I wish I'd introed it.
You just don't care.
It's again this like PR, right? People are like, oh, we really need to have a story out right now. And everything's kind of on hold until Dencun. And a lot of people are at ETH Denver, so there's not going to be any big announcements. What could we talk about? And it's like, oh, I know. Let's take two controversial figures and have them agree on something. So the only thing that's interesting here is the concept of Bitcoin as a measure of time. So not only a store of value, but because it is proof of work, could we look at a novel perspective on the intrinsic property of how long it actually took to mine Bitcoin? And could we then have Bitcoin as a measure of time instead of a measure of utility? Which I don't think Elon Musk or Warren Buffett commented on. That was just the only thing anyone could come up with in relation to, maybe the alpha token being time.
So I think this is... Don't get me started. How much time we got? I'll try to be succinct here, but I think this is like number 1 and number 5 richest person on earth or whatever. Problems. I mean, a lot of people when you're near, let's say, the latter third of your life or latter quarter of your life, generally most people have an idea when we're getting to that point. Money becomes for most people much less valuable, and time and experience becomes a lot more valuable as you get older. And I think for these guys, they have all the money that they couldn't spend the money they have. It's actually pretty much impossible, other than in investments and stuff, but they couldn't consume things with the money they have. So what other kind of finite resource do they have? And the only thing that we all have the exact same amount of is time. So I do, in fact, kind of agree with the sentiment here. I just think, is this really what most of us are thinking about? Yeah, of course, time is important to us. But actually, interesting anecdote. We're having a conversation today about goals with respect to like the hierarchy of needs, right? So if you've got like basic goals at the bottom, like basic financial stability, then maybe a certain amount of extracurriculars, family, love and affection, and then eventually you get up to that self-actualization, which is where you're like changing the world and doing all this really exciting stuff. But you can't focus on that if you're not financially secure at all, or if you have no money, or if your paycheck, like if inflation is. So I think it's kind of insensitive given how challenging the last couple of years have been for the bottom half of or more, the bottom 2/3, 3/4 of society, as inflation has crushed us, most of us. Like, you have way less disposable income. So now those bottom needs are becoming more important than something like this. So I think it's interesting that it's coming up right now. But time, I do agree. I do agree that time is the one commodity that we all have the same amount of. You can't buy more of, no matter how hard you try, unless Neuralink works. Then you can become a cyborg, which I would totally do.
I have to say about the recession, did you see the news about advertising cereal for dinner?
No, but don't get me started on that too.
Kellogg's is getting a lot of backlash right now because their CEO came out and was like, we should talk about eating cereal for dinner and having people skip breakfast, and then cereal can become a dinner food and we'll place ourselves in a new product market fit. And people are not happy about that. So
you shouldn't eat cereal for breakfast, let alone dinner.
Right. Yeah, that's a fact.
Definitely not a balanced diet. Speaking of people being out of touch with reality,
You want to talk about the G20?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the G20.
So G20, there's a meeting coming up, and of course, we want to hear about what they're going to talk about. So the Financial Stability Board has declared that it will be cryptocurrencies, tokenization, and artificial intelligence. That's what they're going to be monitoring. That's what they're going to talk about. That's what they're going to come up with a roadmap for. So ahead of the upcoming G20 meeting in Sao Paulo, the chair Klaus Knott detailed plans to publish reports about the roadmap for cryptocurrencies and financial stability implications of tokenization and AI within crypto. This initiative follows the FSB's collaboration with the International Monetary Fund to establish a global regulatory framework for crypto assets, aiming for effective implementation in 2024 and beyond.
I'll believe that when I see it. This, to me, screams, actually, let's protect the incumbents. The International Monetary Fund has a lot to lose here. We effectively make them redundant with enough scale and time. So it's existential to them to regulate crypto in such a way that it doesn't exclude them from the party. Very similar to FSB, very similar to, many of these other restrictive regulators, I guess. Most of them are influenced very heavily by lobby. So the G20, I don't really care if we publish a bunch of reports and if we, pat each other on the back about how much we think we know about crypto. None of it matters until it's reflected in some sort of cohesive regulatory package, which I don't think anybody in the G20 has any interest in making it consistent across the board. They all think their way is the best way, and we're going to end up with 20 different versions. I struggle with this one. I think the IMF and a lot of these other entities, SWIFT and a lot of the old guard, should butt out. They obviously didn't evolve how we needed them to the extent that now there's a pivotal point in technology and society. Why should they have an unfair advantage? They didn't do the R&D necessary. They were too busy paying out profits to do R&D and to invest in new products. Here we are. So I really struggle with this, honestly. I think lobby has had an outsized influence, as is always the case, on an emerging market. But the lobby has been funded predominantly from incumbents. And I just hope, it's probably an act in futility, but I really do hope that they take the views and the betterment of society at large rather than just a small subset of people paying political contributions.
I don't know that that'll happen. We do talk about wanting to have regulation, and we do talk about wanting to have clarity, and we do talk about wanting to have a world stage for that, as opposed to all of these minutia from country to country. So I like to see G20 meeting and talking about it and recognizing what's upcoming, but I don't see it going well. I haven't seen them do enough consultation or hire enough experts or just have that basis of knowledge. And, people who are in DeFi inherently don't trust anyone.
It's not like, you get a whole bunch of people in a room, people that are on the boards of IMF and FSB and all these other whatever entities, all these people that are on the boards. They're just in there trying to influence decisions and trying to influence the discussion. They don't care about global hegemony of regulations or any of that stuff. They just want to make sure, I don't really care what you guys approve, as long as I have a guaranteed market share that's equivalent to what I have now. This is kind of the case.
I think that's what we're seeing legally, like in the lawsuits and with crypto and with AI and with tokenization. That's what we're seeing across the board. People act in their personal interests before in their large scale interests. Yeah. Why don't you tell us about what's going on with crypto v AI in terms of power?
Did you just muzzle me? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I had a good point there. Okay. Intensifying the energy battles. There's a lot of sub-narratives to this. I could probably talk about this forever, but I'll just read the darn thing. A recent lawsuit and an essay have spotlighted growing concerns over the significant electricity demands of cryptocurrency mining and artificial intelligence, particularly against the backdrop of global challenges reducing carbon emissions. The debate comes at a critical time as both sectors require intensive computing power, raising questions about their environmental impact amidst efforts to combat climate change. Are you concerned about the environment because of crypto?
Am I concerned
Yeah.
about the environment?
Yeah.
No.
What about AI?
No. These are not. I'm more concerned about the environment because of Taylor Swift, because of crypto or AI. Like, it's so obscene to me that this continues to be the focal point, especially after we saw, I think it was last month, that Biden had the emergency measures to collect information from mining centers about crypto. It's like, why don't you collect information about mining centers from, I don't know, actual mines? Like, if you're going to be focused on this, maybe look at everything as a whole and consider all of your resources. But in any case, the Emergency Information Administrator's emergency data survey on crypto mining is still going on. So this hasn't finished. This is a continued open debate, a continued open forum for it. And we're seeing that it is mostly being impacted in the southern states, in Texas and Tennessee. So if you're there and you care about this, you should probably write to your
Congress people or senators or whoever. I think that this is an incumbent PR push from AI.
100%.
So if you look at NVIDIA, so I remember not that long ago, like only a few years ago, I remember reading it in the San Francisco airport, a book that talked about kind of the four major tech companies and which one would get to $1 trillion in market cap first. Now, since then, I think all of them have surpassed $1 trillion, but NVIDIA leapfrogged them to 7 or 8 trillion in market cap. And they're forecasting a 40 to 50% growth again year over year for 24 versus 23, which is obnoxious. If you think about the infrastructure upgrade that's happening due to AI, as evidenced by NVIDIA's explosion as the most valuable company on earth, and every major data center having multiple quarters in advance of orders for NVIDIA, every data center essentially on earth is getting an upgrade.
Absolutely.
If we think for a second that every data center on earth is even remotely comparable to the energy usage of cryptocurrency mining, namely Bitcoin, because almost everything else is proof of stake, we are wildly off base. Like, to me, this just screams AI trying to bring someone else into the
Absolutely. I don't know why they're being looked at together. So one of the things that these articles say, and that this International Energy Agency report is focused on, is data centers, crypto, and AI collectively accounting for global power demand, which in 2022 was 2%. And they think that by 2026 will be 4%. And considering how AI has kicked off and the other efficiencies of the world, and also what else we're spending power on, like data centers, crypto, and AI are only 4% of power usage. That seems pretty reasonable, actually.
I think, crypto is going to continue to go down in power usage in a lot of ways. I think we're consolidating mining operations away from people in their basement or in their closet for crypto for a whole host of reasons. Most blockchains are no longer proof of work, obviously. So if anything, it's going to shrink over time, in my opinion. We'll get more efficient ways to run miners and different things and better technologies that require less power, I'm sure, over time. This to me is so ridiculous. Like, yes, they use a lot of power. So do electric cars, but we're not even talking about that. So
whoa, calm down.
That's where I struggle with this whole thing. Like, I feel like there's a lot of lobby going on, and it's kind of the tail wagging the dog in the PR.
Well, I think that's our theme today, is like, okay, Bitcoin and ETH, the news is that the halving is happening, Dencun is happening. We know that. There isn't new news about it. There's not really going to be new news about it until it happens. We're going to see price go up. We're going to see price go down a little bit and then go back up. We've already talked about that. We know how that's going to go. But what we're seeing a lot of right now is just press narrative, people investing, people trying to blame other people while investing. There's not a lot of like big, interesting news going on in terms of Bitcoin and ETH right now. Would you disagree?
Yeah, I mean, I like to talk about it because it's nice to have some positive momentum to discuss. I think the waterfall effect is what is of interest now. Bitcoin and ETH rocket. People take some profits off and try to reinvest them in the next tier of projects. So we kind of see that overflow from Bitcoin and ETH to other altcoins to eventually NFTs and meme coins and all this other nonsense, which is when we know the cycle's got to be getting close. But I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of excitement still to come. I'm excited. I'm happy we're talking about it. little frustrating watching kind of the PR struggles and the regulatory struggles, but that's nothing new. We've been dealing with that for a few years. I wanted to make one quick point, actually, before we end on the G20 thing. I know I was pretty FUD on it. The one thing I am interested to see is what those reports entail. What do they say? What are they suggesting? Because that should give us somewhat of an indication in advance of the meeting, kind of where their stance is generally. And then when they come out of the meeting, if they're all somewhat in alignment with that, that will be probably pretty relevant, at least as a starting point in terms of expected regulation. So let's see. Information is key. The more information we get.
That is your funny news for Tuesday. If you're at ETH Denver, you can see us there starting tomorrow.
I will be on a plane tomorrow, so will not be doing GoFud. So I won't see you guys until Thursday.
Later.
But that's okay, because I'm sure a fresh replacement face will show up, and away we go. Okay, Kira, safe travels. And go FUD yourself.
Go FUD yourself?
Yeah. I was trying to think of a clever way to transition. I got nothing.
Later.
Later.